Just to get straight into it, you kind of already have a heads up how this works.
I got to see it.
So how was your day today?
It was okay. A little rough start, I would say. Um, in the transition of getting a new doctor out here from Chicago, and that's been rough because my doctor I was with for 11 years back at home, and he knows me. I've been on the same medication for some of the trauma I've gone through for a long time, and to have somebody kind of almost rip that out from under me and me feel like I have to switch that out is like scary. It's a scary feeling, uncontrol type of a feeling, and I don't like feeling like I I don't like the unknown. That's probably like my biggest, probably everyone's biggest thing. Not knowing, but it ended up being better because I had a doctor call me back, and I'm getting back in. So fluctuates. So I'm working on not dwelling on those things because if you kind of stay in a positive mindset, then I can get back into. Once I actually stopped thinking negatively, I got that phone call, which was kind of funny to me. Ironic, I suppose. Good karma.
Nice.
So, better now.
Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
I had a pretty good childhood. I mean, I was raised in with a loving mother and father. I have two older sisters. Um, I was the baby. They're 5 and 7 years older than me. So when I was first born, my sister Beth was very upset. She hid in a bathtub for probably like a long time. Wouldn't hold me, didn't like me, cried because she was now the middle child, and it was good. And as time went on, I had some like traumatic experiences that happened that really molded me into like the person I am today. Um, when I was only 8 years old, I was actually full on raped by somebody that was close to the family. And it was something that my family did not know about for a long time. And about a year after that, I was then molested. I went to a pool party, and I'll never forget, my mom did not want me to go to this pool party. And I was second grade. And I wanted to go. I had a crush on this boy. Who was like me and my friend. We had a crush on this kid, and we were the only two girls invited to this pool party. And my mom was like, I'm not comfortable. And I begged and begged and begged. And I found out my girlfriend was wearing a two-piece. And I'm like, I want to wear a two-piece, Mom, please. And she wouldn't let me. She made me wear this navy blue, Old Navy. I remember it to the T. An Old Navy one-piece with little purple butterflies on it, size 8. Like, I remember it like it was yesterday. And she wasn't comfortable. I begged. She talked to the other mom. She finally let us go. And we went to this party, and this dad of the guy that we had a crush on was taking us in the pool and like shoving his fingers inside of us and throwing us. And I didn't know he was doing it to my friend also until we were in 8th grade and we had a sleepover. And we talked about it. I mean, girls, when you're in 8th grade, you guys have 10 girls at a sleepover, and you guys all kind of do whatever and gossip and talk about stuff. And it came up, and she was like, I told my mom. And I said, I've never told my mom. And at this point, I had already been actually raped before that. So I thought it kind of was like maybe a normal thing, And the first time it happened was like somebody that we really trusted, and it was their nephew. And since their child was sick, I don't know how to really explain it. The person that did this to me was only 18, and I was 8. So to me, he was 30. And I didn't know it was bad because I was a wild kid already. I had ADHD, and I was a hyperactive child. And so the fact that after this happened, I went and sat by my mother. This is the first time. I went and sat by my mom, and normally if my mom said, it's time to go, I would say 5 more minutes, please, and I was like ready to go. I sat by her the rest of the time, and the whole way home I was praised. Like, you were so good, you left when we wanted to. So to me, I was like, okay, and then it happened shortly after at the pool party, and it just to me seemed like this, is this what's supposed to happen? I was too scared to say anything.
What was the first time that you spoke to somebody else about the initial rape and then the molestation?
I was in 8th grade, so 13 maybe.
And what did you learn what did you find out when you finally talked to somebody about it?
I think I was I felt good because the person I talked to was with me in the second one. But I also was upset because she was able to tell her mom, and although I was close to my mom, I just like didn't have it in me to hurt my mom. I felt like it would hurt my mother to know that, and then to hurt my mother to know that she did not want me to go to that party, and I convinced her, and this is what happened. So you partly kind of blame yourself a little bit, but you're so young, so you don't really, you know what I mean, you to put those together. But I did feel better to know I had somebody with me. But the flip side of that was we had to the flip side of that was I played soccer, and I was really good at soccer, and this girl played soccer with me, and it turned into this thing where my mom finally, when she found out when we were 16, and we were both the only two girls that made varsity freshman year, and she told her mom, does she want to go to therapy? We're going to get Brooke into therapy. We just found out.
Your mom find out? How did you tell her? How did that come about?
I actually had a mental breakdown in my boyfriend's car.
How old were you?
I was 16. And I had like a flashback and just like started punching out all of the vents in the car to the point where he had to drop me off on like the side of the road. We were probably 4 blocks from my house, and he wasn't the best boyfriend. But he told my dad. He was the one that told my dad. And I didn't get the chance to tell my dad or my parents. So when they found out, they automatically like assumed that.
You told your boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
He was really supportive. Really supportive, and I had these like episodes where I didn't know if they were seizures. I didn't know. Come to find out, they're like panic attack seizures, like not ones where I'm like, but I don't remember them. They're like blackouts, is what I would call them. That's what I used to call them, was blackouts, until I finally went to therapy and kind of learned more about it. But it just kind of backfired on me because my mom wanted me in therapy and then didn't want me to leave the house because she thought I was going to be suicidal, which I ended up getting suicidal off of all of this later on. And so they were so worried about it, and they ended up like getting me evaluated and going to like a therapist. And I went to the first therapist, and I met her one time, and she died of cancer like right after. It was just, I felt like it was just like, it was terrible. So when she approached this girl that had this also happen to her, her mother, and asked if she wants to go to therapy with Brooke, and the mom freaked out and was like, we are not, going to court for this. We are not bringing this. Like, she wanted to dust it under the rug, and my mom wanted me to get help. So they stopped passing me the ball in soccer. They stopped inviting me. The parents stopped inviting us at soccer tournaments to go to lunch after these soccer tournaments out of state, and it was just me and my mom basically, and it kind of ruined my soccer career.
We have the initial trauma as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel, you trying to process that as a teenager?
I mean, I think for me personally, I became very against sex and against wanting to be touched. I didn't want a boyfriend, so then I was made fun of, called a lesbian. I always wanted to be different, so I cut my hair short, and I like did these things, and it really was hard to process, I think, as a teenager, and then to have things continue to happen that are more traumatic. You just think like, is this my life? Like, this is, like I just keep getting this shitty shit happening to me, like why? I think it was really hard to process, and my sisters and them never ever asked me. They found out and they never were like, are you okay? They never asked details, never anything. And the fact that this was a close family friend, my parents decided, supposedly we all decided, and nothing against my mother or father, but like they were trying to protect the other people too, because it was their nephew, and they were trying to protect them because their son was also very, very sick. So they were going through trauma themselves. They were already dealing with their son that was maybe
what were your emotions during all that?
My emotions, I was very angry. I was so angry. I didn't want a boyfriend. I didn't want anyone to touch me. And then I was made fun of in school for that. And it just was like a domino effect of bullying then. And I just felt like, why am I being bullied? And then, of course, the stereotypical, you tell anybody, and either you're lying, you want attention, and since I was a loud person, it was automatically she wants attention, and it's like, it hurt really bad. It was really traumatizing. I hated high school. I hated middle school. I hated school.
What were your dreams as a child?
I've always wanted to be a hairstylist. I wanted to be a hairdresser since I was in 8th grade, or since I was 8 years old. I cut my American Girl doll's hair into layers, and I don't know if you know those dolls, but they were very expensive, and my mom would get them for us for Christmas. And got all of our sisters, and I closed my door, and we weren't allowed to have our doors shut when we were young, and she walked in on me when I was 8 years old, and I'm cutting Felicity's hair into layers. Still have that doll, by the way. She's got great hair. But yeah, I've always wanted to be that, and now I am. So I followed that pretty far out. I mean, I would do my sister's hair when I was so they're 5 and 7 years older, for like their prom and their sophomore like dance and stuff. I would do their hair for those things. So I was pretty advanced, I feel like. I had a knack for it, for sure. I also wanted to be a professional soccer player. That was something I really wanted to do. I was really good at soccer, but I kind of, after the girls stopped talking to me with all that other jazz that went on, it's like it just kind of ruined that drive for me.
Can you tell me about your relationship with your dad and how that felt?
I love my dad. My dad was like my best friend. And I say was because he died suddenly 2 years ago. And it's crazy to even be able to say that. Yeah.
What were some of the things that made him your best friend?
He understood me. He understood my anger. He understood because he was so much like me, and I would get in fights in school, and he just like understood. And my sisters and my mom are also alike, and they're all teachers, and then like my dad was just like my homie. Like, I mean, eventually when we got older, like we smoked together. I mean, we smoked pot together. Like that was, and we never talked about it. We'd sit in the basement and we'd sit down there, and maybe he wasn't listening to me talk about my hair stuff, but we were sitting there watching ESPN on his little small TV in the basement, and he would just nonchalantly pass me the one hitter. And I'm an adult at this point, but we had a rough relationship, I think, growing up. I'm a teenager, I have a chip on my shoulder and stuff, but as I grew up, we just became so close, and we got way close right before he died. And he was a good dad. I think as when we were kids, he definitely said some stuff, hurtful things, really hurtful things. And I don't think, my mom raised us to say all the time, I would hear, when you're angry, you say things you don't mean. When you're angry, you don't say things you don't mean. And it just like stuck in my head. So I lost a lot of friends because I would get angry and say things I didn't mean, because I learned that. And my dad would say stuff I mean to us in the morning, and usually it was the morning getting ready for work. He would do these things. And one time my sister left the cap off the toothpaste, and that was like his pet peeve. And when she went to school, she was a sophomore, I'll never forget, because I was in middle school. So I'm still waiting to go to school because school starts later, and he took the toothpaste and squirted it all over her bed. And it's like, well, who has to clean it up? My mother. But he would do these things, and it's like, I don't know, I'm impulsive like that, and those are the things that he did that like irritated me. Or like not having my back when we found out that I was raped and stuff because of the situation. It was somebody that was close to him too, and I think it was hard for him to grasp, and I struggle to this day. I feel like no one has my back because he didn't have my back really like I thought a dad would. If you found that out as a father, I feel like you would like want to kill him.
And so you thought your dad didn't have your back, however you still see him as your best friend. How did he still remain or become to be your best friend, and you still to be able to have that kind of love for him when you probably had a level of resentment at some time?
I think like for a while I just like let it go. Like that was my only way. Like if I talked to him about it, he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to know details. He didn't
forgive him inside?
I eventually had to. I don't think I fully did until he died. And I had to have a conversation with my mother that was really hard and say like, I feel like neither of you had my back. And it was really hard for me to do. It made her cry, and I felt so bad, but I'm like, I all the time am questioning if my fiance has my back when he does, and it's because of this, and it's I know it's because of this. You guys are supposed to be my supporters, and I know it was easier for you guys to brush it off than to really like handle it. And I didn't expect to go to court and do all these things.
You just wanted them to say, I believe you.
Yeah, or even my sisters ask me, or anybody ask me, like, are you okay? Like, what really happened? Like, details. I think still to this day I haven't told my mother all the details of it because they don't want to hear it. And I think it hurts them, but it's like they're not realizing that's hurting me more. So when he died, I had this conversation with my mom, and she said, my dad was mad, and it made me feel good to know that he did make comments to her, never to me. And I wish he did make those comments to me. But he did tell my mom, like, oh, that pervert, or would say these things about this person. It just made me feel good to know that he did have some anger about what happened, but he never showed me that. And I don't know if that was him being strong for me, or if that was him. I don't think he realized how much that affected me. And I wish if he was alive, like, I could tell him that, and I just can't. And I think it just drives me crazy because I can't. But I've always just been like the tough one, so I think they just thought I could handle it.
What about your relationship with your mom?
I love my mom. Her and I, we were really close. I was a really hard kid, I think, to raise because of all the trauma. I think I lashed out. I was the one that was put on medication when I was young, at a really young age.
Uh-oh.
2nd grade, they put me on Ritalin. And then when I was in middle school, they put me on Concerta. And then in high school, I was on Adderall. And little did they know, it really wasn't fully ADHD. I was outbursting because I was raped.
Yeah.
And it was hard because I'll never forget the day they told me I was being put on medication. They had my sisters get up off the table, and I was sitting there saying, you're going to have to take medicine. And I cried and cried. I was so young. And I'm like, is there something wrong with me? And they're just like, no, you need this. So every day in grade school, I'd go to the at lunchtime, I'd go to the nurse's office and get my medicine and then go back to lunch. And I was made fun of in school for it and things like that. But my mother wanted to help me so much. We'd go to church. I went on mission trips. I helped build houses in North Dakota. I liked going to church. We would go to church together. My sisters weren't really into church. My dad wasn't really into church, and I was really into it. And then my dad died, and I kind of stopped believing a little bit. So I'm working on that, but I lost that a little bit of faith in that because my mom had been through so much. And it wasn't even me losing my dad. It was my mother having to lose her dad because he cheated on my grandmother. And she had to walk to school, sew her own clothes, put on tennis rackets on her boots to walk 3 miles to school in the snow and sew her own clothes. And they had no car. And so she already went through that, and then she was married before and got a divorce, and this guy was not the nicest. And my dad was married and got divorced, and then they met each other. They both went to school together and dated in high school, and they just came back together. And it's just crazy because she, during all of this, just got so close to me. She just wanted to do these church things with me and always took me to soccer. When I first started playing soccer, there was no one that stepped up to be an assistant coach. My mother knew nothing about soccer. I was in 4th grade when I started playing on a recreational team, and she stood up and she was the assistant coach and came in and she was such a huge part of my life. Seriously, I know it sounds cliche and corny, but she was really my best friend, and just she balances me because I'm aggressive and she's so soft-spoken. It really is a balance. It's like yin-yang for sure. So I'm so appreciative of her. I don't know what I would do without my mother. She has been my rock, and she is one of the strongest women I know. I aspire to be that strong someday, and I know I've been strong through some of this, but man, the stuff she has gone through is just over and over, and you start losing faith in that, how can someone so sweet like that, so soft-spoken, so caring of other people, lose their husband and be a widow, But that's where my mind thinks. I'm always thinking of other people and not how this is affecting me. So I'm working on that.
What did you learn from both your parents?
Manners. Definitely manners. That was huge to them. Being polite. You always are polite. Please and thank you always. Every time she dropped me off at a house, it was make sure you say please and thank you. Always, always, always. It's drilled in my head to this day. They taught me love. They loved each other. My dad would come in and he loved her. He loved her so much. And you could see it. He showed it. Every time he came in, he would kiss her. He'd kiss her goodbye. He'd kiss her hello. And once in a while, and maybe TMI, he'd walk up when she was washing dishes. He'd be like, this is why I married your mother, and you'd spank her butt. And it's those things. It's you remember, and he'd be like, ew, Dad. And he'd be like, yep. That's why I love your mother. That's why I married her. And you're just like, oh my God, stop. I look at it now and it's that's so sweet. I want that, you know, like I want my kids to see that. As gross as it was, you remember those things. But he also would come and sit down for dinner and then get up and say, all right, you guys all got the plates, right? And go down into the basement. He had 3 daughters. He was like, I'm leaving. He was funny. That's where I get my humor, I'm sure, from too, and my assertiveness. But yeah, I learned that. I learned love. I learned respect. I learned how to be tough. My dad taught me to be tough as nails. You fall down in soccer. If I fell down in soccer and I did not get back up, I was reamed out in the car. Like it was like, you get up next time. You get up. You always get up. I don't care if you're hurt. I don't care if your ankle's broken. You get up. You show nobody that you're weak. You show nobody that you're hurting. You get up. And so that was something that really stuck with me too. Being tough.
Can you tell me about your first love and how that felt?
My first love.
It could be at any age.
Yeah. Well, so this is like this is like my first love. My first real love.
Yeah.
It was, I was 16. This is the one that told my dad that I was raped.
Yeah.
He wasn't the best guy. Didn't have very much ambition. But I felt like he loved me. But I was so young. It was like puppy love, you know? And the first person I felt comfortable enough to actually have sex because I was so scared. And he cheated on me, got a girl pregnant. I knew stuff was pretty messed up. Like my dad allowed him to live in our house. So his dad was an alcoholic. His mother was like the breadwinner. And then you had my dad who would smoke occasionally and like marijuana, cannabis, whatever, pot, whatever you want to call it, the reefer. He would do that, and his dad was an alcoholic. And his dad was so against smoking, and my dad was more against drinking. Like my dad, I don't think I ever saw my mom and dad drink. On vacation, once I saw my dad drunk one time my whole entire life. And he knew he just was an angry person if he drank, so he didn't. But he let this guy live in our house for 3 months. He gave him 3 months because his whole family was moving to Rockford. And this was like an hour and a half from my house. And he was like, my love of my life, you can't make him leave. And at this time, I'm going to beauty school.
Yeah.
So I'm like leaving beauty school, not finishing school, like checking out, like paying people to like clock me out so that I could go drive up on 90 all the way to Rockford to go see him and spend the day with him. So before he actually moved to Rockford, my dad gave him a chance when his whole family moved to live with us for 3 months. And he said, you have 3 months to get a job. You have to get a job. And he didn't. So my dad says, you got to go. Like I stuck to my word. I let you live in our basement. Like he didn't ever let boys upstairs. We never allowed to have boys upstairs. And he went to Rockford, and I visited him every single weekend I could, and I would stay up there. And one time I went up there, and his phone was ringing, and I said, who is that? And I wanted to see his phone, and I'll never forget him just taking his phone and just slamming it on the ground and completely breaking it. So obviously there's something on your phone. You didn't want me to see that you're willing to break your phone. And I pulled off, waited, and sure enough, a girl's car pulls in, and it's a girl I knew from back home. She was coming to visit him, and I broke up with him, and that was that. But that's what I thought was my first true love, and it wasn't.
How did you feel before, obviously you found out that he was cheating? How did it feel in the beginning stages of that puppy love?
I'm sure it was fun. It was like the first person I smoked pot with. It was the first person that I drank with. It was the first person that I slept with. It was the first person I told about my rape, like man-wise, besides like the girlfriends when we were younger. But 8th grade was when I told my girlfriends. But yeah, that's what I felt the love was, but it really wasn't, you learn from that. And that's what made me learn what love really is, because it was just that puppy. But it felt good. It felt good to let somebody into my life and just like almost be sexual for the first time when I've held off so long and been made fun of for so long. And it's funny because now guys look at that like, great, she's not run down, you know what I mean? But like at the time I was like made fun of for so long, like, oh, I'm just too scared to have sex, like I don't want to see what a dick looks like, oh my god. Like so it was just, that was why I thought I loved him. So yeah, That would probably be my first love. The actual real love I felt was another guy after that, and I dated him for 5 years. And he was sleeping with my best friend the whole time. And I lost my best friend and my boyfriend, and they're actually still together, I believe, from what I have heard from other people from back home, which I don't care. If your friendship ruining it with me was worth getting your love, and it worked out, because I am way happier. And again, I was young.
What about your first loss or heartbreak?
Ooh, my first heartbreak. I was in fourth grade. I had a crush on this guy. And we'd pass little notes together in school. And I'll never forget, like, we'd go on, meet me on AIM later. And you would talk and go on AOL Instant Messenger. And one day, I was calling his phone. You call the house phone. Hey, Mrs. Millen, can I talk to Eric? Yes, Eric Millen, I'm talking about you. And he said that he doesn't like me anymore. And I hung up the phone. And I remember just crying, just like sobbing, crying. Like, that was my first like rejection, where I was like, he doesn't like me. And I'm so young, but like that was when I felt that. Like, that was the first time I felt that feeling of like, someone doesn't want you. And like, look at me now.
Can you describe that feeling?
It was like a helpless feeling. You wanted to call back. You wanted to call them back, and you wanted to like convince them almost. It was like an out of control feeling. I hate feeling out of control. And it was like, I don't consider myself a controlling person, but it just was like this. It was just, you can't change it. There's nothing you can do to change it. And I'm so young to be able to like kind of ingest all of that and then like marinate on it. You're too young. You're almost at the point where you're like, you don't get it. You don't, I felt like I didn't understand more, I guess is the best way to explain that. He stopped writing me notes. He stopped giving me like the best, like, it's funny, I don't remember a lot of my childhood besides like the rape and like the molestation and some of these things, but I will never forget Eric Millen not giving me the best chore on the door.
Yeah.
When he was like the star of the class. They chose one once a month or once a week, that got to like put the cards in, and he just stopped putting me at my favorite one, and I was just like, oh. It's funny you remember some of those things, Stop passing me notes saying, hey, you want to kiss on the playground later? I stopped getting those notes, and then I'm sure he started dating the girl next to me.
Can you tell me who first taught you love and how?
I feel like just watching my parents really showed me what love was. Seeing them together, my grandparents, seeing them in love. Seeing my grandpa, who's like really technically, he's also passed away. That was my first like loss, but he loved my grandmother so much, and he was not my real grandfather, but he was my grandfather. And he was my mother's dad, but he wasn't her biological dad. And he took over after my grandmother's my mom's real dad left. He took over and built them a house and just took care of them and took me in as his own granddaughter, and just, I was in his workshop. He made me my own workshop drawer that I had my own vise. He carved everything I made. He had me initial, all of my tools have my initials carved into them, and he taught me carpentry. I mean, it was fun. My other sisters wanted to go outside and play on the playground, and I wanted to go in the basement and build stuff with my grandfather. And so just seeing him love my grandma and my mother, and then seeing my dad really love my mom, just exceeded and showed me like, this is what I want. I want this. I want this. Because my dad loved my mom. You could just see it. Even in arguments. And they rarely argued, but you could just see the love in the argument. It was a passionate argument. It wasn't just, do you know what I mean? It wasn't about just to be mean. It was like something because I love you so much. Like, I'm irritated, So probably him, I would say. My mom and dad. Or honestly, if you really want me to get deep, probably Tyler, my fiance right now. I mean, really has shown me what it's like to be loved in a different aspect. Like, if I saw love, that's what showed me what I want. But like, Tyler's taught me like, this is what I deserve. And like, I've been through a lot, and like, he's really, really showed me like that I deserve more, like I deserve to be loved, and that I'm like actually a good person. And he really, and it's crazy to think I'm 29 and that's when I'm really seeing like real love. But yeah, he's probably the first person that really showed me love and like loved me for all my flaws. And yeah, that's probably the like answer to that question is Tyler. Sorry.
What's love to you now? Has it always been the same or has it changed? If it has changed, what's the comparison between now and then?
I feel like it's changed so much. Like love to me is just loving each other for like everything. Good, bad, everything. Like I love the things that irritate me about Tyler. You know what I mean? Like that's love. I love that. I love his annoying things that he does. I love how he's so generous, and sometimes I'm like, why are you doing this? No, like, you know, or we go to the South Side and he's giving all the homeless people money, and I'm like, they're just gonna go buy crack with that, but okay. We have a wedding to pay for, but go for it. But then it's like, before that, I thought love was just, you know, maybe sex, maybe that connection and that, maybe buying somebody something. Like, no, love is sharing all of your intricate details and all of your like hard times, and just like really loving the imperfections more so than like the good things. I love him imperfections more than his like other thing. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to articulate because it's like it's an undescribable feeling with him. That is like love. It's insane. It's an insane feeling. It's a good feeling. It's an overwhelming feeling.
Can you tell me about a general good day for you?
A good day for me. So I really struggle with bipolar and getting out of bed. I struggle with depression. I mean, it's hard for me sometimes. It's really hard for me sometimes. And a good day for me is getting up before noon. And it sounds terrible, but that is a good day. I'll get my day started, actually eat breakfast. Get up early enough to eat breakfast. Get lunch, go to work, make some people feel great, come home, watch The Bachelor, and, you know, just hang out on the couch with Tyler, really. I love being at home with Tyler. I love spending the weekends with him at home with Tyler. That's a good day for me. I enjoy that. But I also enjoy, when I'm at work, as hard as it is to get to work with these other, like, issues I deal with, when I'm at work, that is my like, what word am I looking for? That is my, not my zen, my place. Like when it takes forever to get there. Like I hate the drive there. I'm like, oh my God. And once I'm there doing the hair, I'm like, oh girl, I'm feeling so much better, you know? And then like I leave feeling good. So that's a good day. I like working because I love what I do. That's a good day for me. Also like, you know, laying out in the sun, doing nothing, drinking some beers. Just saying.
Can you tell me about a bad day and how you push through it? Can you be specific on how you get through that bad day?
So a bad day for me with this bipolar is rough. A bad day for me as a child would have been waking up, my mom trying to wake me up for school, and no matter how she woke me up, whether it was, hey, like, can you wake up, Brooke? Oh, why are you talking to me so nicely? Just tell me to wake up and close the door. You know, that's how I'd be. Just so, like, angry almost. And then, like, pushing through that would be, like, then getting to school and doing those things. But then, like, a bad day now, like, in my present time would be, like, I mean, sometimes I'll just sleep and sleep and sleep. And, like, I don't want to get up because I don't feel like I'm worth anything and I don't want to do anything. And I can't even fathom putting makeup on or getting ready. And that's what I love. That's my passion, hair and makeup in the industry. So for me to not want to do those things, it's really difficult. And, like, I don't understand why. So then I beat on myself. It's like a domino effect. Like I wake up and I think, oh God, I don't want to go to work today. Oh, I don't have to go to work today. So I fall back asleep. And then I wake back up and it's 1 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, now I've wasted the day. Now I'm a piece of shit. So I lay back down. Now it's 3 o'clock. Now I can barely sleep anymore because my body won't allow it. But I'll just lay there. Like I can lay here. I'll just lay here. And usually this is Tyler's gone for hockey or something, and I push through it by just like really trying. Usually I'll try and call a girlfriend of mine that knows, my girl Marissa. She really helps me out a lot. My best friend Dan really helps me, and I will push through it. I'll get, usually if I can get on the phone with someone, even on FaceTime, I can get up and start cleaning or doing something. Once I'm going, I'm okay. But like sometimes I'll lay in my bed until 5 p.m. and just, then I feel like the biggest piece of shit. And then it just like, it's like a domino effect of just like, you have anxiety because you're not getting up, and then you're depressed because you're not getting up, and then you have anxiety because you're not up, and now you're depressed. So it's like, and so you're just like, well, I'm just going to lay here because I can't figure it out. If I can actually get out of the bed, it helps. And that's what it is. I have to get my feet on the ground. I mean, I'll lay in bed sometimes and like hold having to go to the bathroom, hold having to pee, because I just am so depressed that I don't even want to pee. I don't want to get water if I'm thirsty. I'll just lay there. And it's like pathetic sometimes, you know, and you beat on yourself like that. But it's like, it's something I struggle with. It sucks.
Calling your friends or calling people is probably one of the ways that you get through those days.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I need to be like talking to somebody to get up, because then I don't even realize I'm getting up. Like I'll call them and I'll just like all of a sudden realize like I'm doing dishes, and I'm like, oh, thank you for calling me and talking to me. Like I think I don't like being maybe alone with my thoughts.
How do you stop that bad day from rolling over to the next day?
I journal a lot. I write a lot of that down, and I'll read it before bed and then realize how like sad that was, and then I'll like say in my head what I want to do the next day, and then I think it's even more depressing if I wake up and I can't do it the next day. So I really try, but it's so hard. It is like one of the biggest struggles. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I lay in that bed and like maybe I look like I'm up and about all the time, but like that bed is like my sanctuary, and it's like, it's hard. It's hard. Sometimes I don't know how to. Sometimes I've laid in that bed for 2 days straight and not gotten up, and then you get in a hole. So it's hard. I try to push through it. I really do, but it's harder than people understand. It's difficult.
Extremely hard. What are 2 things or events or people that have shaped you, good or bad?
2 people.
How does it feel when you reflect on those? It can be one thing as well.
Good or bad? Honestly, like, so I was in a really abusive relationship, to the point where like I was in the hospital. And it was bad, but it shaped me good, because it showed me what I deserve and what I want. And shortly after is Tyler's, who came into my life. And this person, I mean, made me feel so worthless. I mean, at one point had me locked in the bathroom for 48 hours and let me know when I could eat, and let me know, like, it was bad. And Tyler got me out of that. And I think it shaped me because it really made me realize. So Tyler shaped me into realizing like that I deserve the love, and this person showed me what the hell I never want to go through again. And I think I also tried masking my father's death with this like terrible person, and that would just beat on me. And when I finally left him, I thought I was going to die. I mean, I really thought he was going to kill me. I jumped a 2nd-story balcony and crawled to my car. And he chased me down the stairs and spit on me, told me I was a piece of shit, pushed me down with his feet, and I crawled to my car, and a neighbor called the police actually because they heard me screaming, and he was just kicking me. And, you know, I've gotten in altercations before, but I've never had a man kick me once and knock the air out of me and then continue to kick me and continue to kick me and continue to kick me, where I thought, I'm like, I'm gonna die. And that just like really shaped me into like, I'm never gonna do that again. I will never let my daughter go through this. I will never, like, this is showing me experiences as to how I don't want my kids or anything to go through this. I want my kids to be able to tell me anything and not be able to, like, the reason why I don't tell my mom everything is because they didn't have my back in the past. So this kind of really just, yeah, that shaped me a lot in a bad and good way, I guess, if you think about it that way. And it pushed me to Tyler, But I didn't think I deserved Tyler. When I first met Tyler, I was like, I don't deserve him. I'm such a piece of shit. I don't do anything right. I'm a troublemaker. I don't do any of this. And he just saw through all that and saw that I am like such a good heart. Like he saw what my mom sees. He saw that child in me, you know, that like I really care about people, but sometimes I don't show it the right way. And it's like, and he just saw that I've went through all this trauma, and he just realized, like, I can relate to you. I've also been through trauma. And he's like, and I couldn't imagine going through your trauma. And I'm like, I couldn't imagine going through your trauma. But it's like we all are dealt the trauma that maybe you're supposed to deal with, and I don't know. But that shaped me. That guy really fucked me up. I mean, mentally, physically, in every single way. Kept me away from my family, isolated me. I mean, raped me, had his friends rape me. Broke my ribs. I'll never forget crawling into my car and getting spit on. I've never been spit on. That almost hurt me more than kicking me in the ribs. And the words that were used almost hurt worse than kicking me in the ribs, honestly. But it shaped me. It made me tough. And you know what? That motherfucker can rot in jail. So, there's that. Did that answer the question?
What's inspired you and why?
Oh my gosh. I know I keep saying Tyler, but Tyler. Tyler, oh my gosh, he is a godsend. He inspires me so much. He always has a smile on his face. There's nothing that puts that kid in a bad mood. Me. If I'm upset, it makes him sad. But I hate seeing him sad, so it makes me want to be in a better mood. So it's a good thing. Like, he's so good for me, and he inspires me so much. The fact he can get up every morning, and I don't know if anyone knows, he's a double amputee. He lost his legs in an accident, and he gets up every morning, and I can't get up to wash my face, shower, let alone brush my teeth. I did, do not worry. But those things, watching him get up and put legs on to go brush his teeth, to go do these things, just inspires me so much. And the way he treats people is just, it's amazing. He is the biggest inspiration. Besides my mother inspires me because she's been very tough and strong through a lot of stuff. I mean, when my dad died, my grandfather died about a year later, and then my grandma died 3 months after that. And this has been recent. So during that time, like, I saw my mother's strength of, like, she should have been sitting next to my dad at that funeral, and not some people in our family weren't very nice about some of the stuff that was happening and thought my mother should just be over it because she seems tough and she's over it. And so she would sit at the front of the thing by herself. And so I was wanting to go sit by her. Do you want me up there at the front pew, while we're going through this? And it was an old school funeral. So it was open casket, all these things. And my dad's was not like that at all. And my grandmother was not happy about it. My aunt wasn't happy about it. They wanted it to be very religious. My dad wasn't religious, really. So it wasn't, maybe they were raised as kids religious, but he didn't raise us that way. So we did these things, and I just watched my mother just be so strong up there. I kept looking at my sister, like, is she okay? Is she okay? Like, should I go sit up there? Like, I'll get up. I don't care. I'll make a scene. I'll walk up there. And she's like, no, she is the strongest, and she is. She inspires me to be that strong. That little nugget. She's so cute. I call her little Jules. She's so tiny and gosh, it's like she's so tiny, so soft-spoken, but she is so strong. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where did I get this emotionalness? Because she holds it in, which probably isn't all the way healthy, but she's strong as nails, tough as nails, I tell you. That's, I bet, what my dad saw in her.
What's been a humbling experience for you?
A humbling experience for me. Going through all the stuff that I've gone through, and then losing my dad really humbled me. Losing my dad was the most traumatic thing. It was worse than being raped. It was worse than any of these abusive things. But losing him was the most humbling thing, because it taught me compassion for people, and that you never know what people are going through, and you never know the loss that they have. I remember when he first died, I went to Corner Bakery, and you felt like the waitress could tell that I lost my dad. I remember, we didn't even say anything. We felt like everyone was staring at us, like everyone knew. And you have to have a new normal. You have to find a new normal, and you don't know how. And it humbled me to just, I don't have road rage anymore. Like I don't get mad if someone in front of me is driving slow, because I'm like, they might be really just not aware of the speed limit, because they might just be in a fog, because I've been there. I've been literally going 20 miles an hour in a 55 and not even noticing it, because I'm just thinking about my dad, and it's like, I probably shouldn't be driving, but those things really have humbled me. I don't get mad at people when they mess up my order. I mean, stupid things that I might have gotten mad at because of my bipolar, I really hold back, because I'm like, you just don't know what people are going through, and it just humbled me so much. It just did. It taught me compassion, a lot of compassion and empathy for other human beings. It did, and to slow down.
Go in your mind and think. This life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time in your life that you can relate with the word war.
I feel like, for me, that's a war with myself. Like, I'm at war with myself, I think, every day. I think between my mind and my body, they're so disconnected sometimes. It's like an ongoing battle. So to me, it's like a battle in my brain, and it's war, because it's like my brain is so used to, like, I need to rewire it, because it's like after you do something for so long in your brain, your body follows, and then your brain becomes the servant to your body instead of your body being the servant to your brain. And I've turned this into this habit of not getting out of bed, to when I get up and I get breakfast, my body's like, whoa, this is weird. You need to be doing this. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And my mind's like, but I really want to go. And so your brain's the servant of your body, and it's a reverse, and it's crazy, because it's war. I'm literally like, what do I do? So instead I just lay there, because it's easier than arguing with my brain. So that would how I would describe that, probably, if that makes sense.
So the same question. Go in your mind and think. This life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. But tell me about a time in your life that you can relate with the word peace.
Peace. The word peace. The word peace, to me, I think of being outside with nature, and really just getting out of this bed and being out in nature and sitting there and quiet. I don't even need music. I could just sit. I love to hike. I love to go exploring by myself. When I lived in Chicago, I'd find areas, believe it or not, there are places that have trees and like little like cool fountains, suburbs of Chicago. People think of Chicago or Illinois and they're just like Chicago buildings. It's like, no, there's like cool areas you can find. And I would go to this forest preserve called Leroy Oaks, and that was where I would find my peace. I would climb this one tree, I carved my name into it, and I would sit there and listen to Alt J. Do you know who that is? It is very, very, very Zen music, and I would sit there and I would meditate, and I would hang my hammock up and just lay there, maybe smoke a blunt, maybe not. Sometimes I didn't need to, but just sitting there, just laying out there and hearing the water and stuff, that to me was just so peaceful. And then I felt so good about myself that I was able to get there. And once I'm there, I'm like so happy. It's the whole getting out of bed part. So when I do that, I'm like, I am at peace with myself. I'm doing this, So to me, that's being outside in nature, I think, is like the most peaceful thing for me, definitely. And hair. Hair's peaceful to me. I love doing hair. It puts me at ease, definitely.
Can you tell me about a truly difficult time in your life, the emotions that came with it, and how you endured?
There's multiple. So it's hard. Can you repeat it?
Can you tell me about a truly difficult time in your life, the emotions that came from it, and how you endured?
So, like, one of the most difficult times in my life was losing my dad. If I could get beat up 1,000,000 times and spit on and talked to like that person did to me, I would do it every single day if I could have my dad back. I would do anything to have my dad back, and the feelings that come with that is just like the most helpless feeling of like, why? And it was just so difficult. I couldn't figure it out. So I think I actually started going towards, you accept the love you think you deserve. And I felt like I didn't want to think about my dad. So instead of feeling that pain, I decided to go with someone who wasn't abusive in the beginning. They brainwashed me, gaslighted me, love bombed me, did all those like stereotypical narcissistic traits. And I would have rather have felt that than feel the loss of my dad. So that was a difficult time for me. And I just, instead of feeling my dad and the loss of that and doing a new normal, I was like, I'm just going to get beat on, because I'd rather feel physical pain than really feel about the fact that my dad's gone. And like, I have to like deal with it. And I won't have to have a new normal. I was like, screw that. I'm going to go this way. So part of me blamed myself that I'm getting beat up and doing these things. Like I deserved it. Like I felt like I deserved it in a weird way, because I wanted to feel pain. It just was so twisted. And if I could go back in time, I wouldn't do it, because now I do feel like my dad saw that and would be mad. But when my dad first died, I thought he didn't want to, and I was so mad at him. I felt like he like died on our bathroom floor, and I remember they resuscitated him for 20 minutes and they brought him back to the hospital, and we were there for 13 hours, and my phone was off when they were calling me to get to the hospital. So I got to the hospital like 4 hours later than everyone else, and everyone else I think already knew but no one had it in them to tell me. They had to pull me out of the room because I was screaming in the ICU. Like I could not believe it. Like they're like, "Are you prepared?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm prepared." And I walked in there, and I like couldn't. His face was swollen. He had drool. Like he would not want anyone to see him like that. And I knew my dad so well. He would not want anyone to see him like that. And I just remember feeling like just so helpless, and just like it just was the most difficult thing. They say you're always one phone call from dropping to your knees, and that was it. I've changed ever since then, and it just completely. I was mad at him. I felt like he was behind a glass wall. Like from what I know of him and how close I was with him, I feel like he just was like got tired and was laying there, and like it felt good to close his eyes and felt good to just like, he was so close to retiring. My mother retired. He was jealous my mom retired before him. He had like a few more months, and I just feel like he was just so stressed. He was so stressed all the time with work, and I feel like he finally just laid down, and my mom asked, "Are you in pain when this is going on?" This is what she tells me. And unfortunately my mom had to see all of this, and I wasn't there. I just moved out, so I felt bad for that too, that I wasn't there to help. Maybe stay there up there while she let the paramedics in. That's when he died, when the paramedics had to come up and my mom had to let him in. So my mom felt guilty that she didn't run fast enough, or they didn't just. So when that happened, I thought my dad was like behind this glass wall, like he wanted to get out, like he was watching us all cry, and he's like, "Shit, I closed my eyes too long. Why did I do this?" Because he's always taught me to be tough as nails. Get up, get up. And he didn't get up. And I just like had so much anger, and it was like really difficult to process all of that, I think. Definitely.
So what got you through that? How did you get through that? How do you continually get through that?
My family really helped. So I pushed my family away at first and started dating that person that was abusive, and I cut them off completely. My sister went to a hospital with postpartum, and I was barely there for her. And I stayed away. I was isolated. I had to give my phone up every time I came into the house. I was secluded to a bedroom. I mean, it was eventually Stockholm Syndrome. It was eventually a point where I did what I was told. I was a robot. I didn't have any emotion. I didn't care my family was struggling. And then it turned into, I finally called my mom, and I was like, I'm coming to Florida. They were there for spring break, and I wasn't going to go because I was so in love with this guy that beat me up. And I called her, and I was like, "Mom, I'm coming to Florida. I'm really hurt." And she was like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "I'm really hurt." And I started crying, and she's like, "What do you mean?" And like, I think I'm fracturing my ankle, and I have it wrapped, and I have my stomach wrapped, and this guy beat me up. And she's like, "I knew this was going to happen," but she didn't know this has been going on for a long time. This was just like the ultimate beating that I've taken. And he's pointed a gun to my head. He's shoved a gun inside of me to scare me. So I had to tell her this. And so I went to Florida. I flew there. And once I got there and I showed my brother-in-law, noticed I was wearing a one-piece, like every day. He finally asked me, and I love my brother-in-law. He's my best friend. He's my brother. He's been in my life since I was in 6th grade. He's been with my sister, and he's my brother. I've never had a brother. He's my brother. And he pulled me in my room, and he was like, show me your ribs right now. And I showed him, and he's like, we're going to the hospital. Sure enough, I had fractured ribs, and my ankle was fractured, and I was just walking around trying not to tell anyone. So then my mom had to come in, and we had to tell her, and that's when I told her everything that had happened. And they just supported me so much. Like, you were going to go to court. My brother-in-law went to court with me the first time. I was still trying to be manipulated even at court. Even at court, this guy had the audacity to, like, when I got my restraining order, ask for a restraining order against me. He's like 6'5", and I'm 5 foot. And he just made a fool of himself really there. But my brother-in-law, my family, they all supported me to do this. They weren't embarrassed of me at all. They weren't ashamed of me at all. They weren't anything, and they really just supported me, and they're like, we will get through this. We are going to get you there. We are going to go to court with you, and that really just showed me support, and that got me through that, really. Tyler's behind you.
Can you tell me about a truly joyous moment in your life?
The day that Tyler proposed to me was like the most joyous day of my entire life. He surprised me. Thank you. This was probably the best day of my entire freaking life. Like, he surprised me. We talked about getting married and stuff, and it was my birthday, and he brought me to Barbados. I'd never been to a all-inclusive resort. So he's like, you have to go. We have to go. So I'm like, okay, like, we went to Barbados, like this nice resort. I'm like, oh my God, I've never even been anywhere but Florida. But I've traveled for soccer all over the place, but never like somewhere like that where I could just order as much booze as I want, as much food. Oh, I ordered so many cheese plates to our room, you don't even know. So the day before my birthday, he proposed to me, and I was so surprised because, like, I'm like a nosy, like, I'm like, okay, like, is he in the safe? Like, we talked about this would be a great place to do it, but I didn't see anything, like, no trace of it, like, I helped him pack his bag, like, and so the day that he proposed was the day before my birthday, and we were taking pictures by sunset, and if you know me, I'm like, I love pictures. The reason I love pictures is because I don't have enough of my dad. I don't have enough of my girlfriend Evelina that died. A lot of friends of mine, I'm about pictures. So people could see I'm like a picture whore or whatever. It's like, it's because I like it. And if I'm feeling good and I look good, I'm going to take a picture because I know for 3 days I'm going to be laying in that bed looking not as good. So I'm going to take them while I can. Yeah. So he did this, and he just totally, with his prosthetics, everything, got down on one knee and proposed to me. I felt I was shaking. My whole life was just like changed. Like, I felt so much joy and so much happiness. Like, this person wants to be with me forever. I'm so messed up. Like, how does this person love me so much? And it's like, I was questioning this, but in his face, I could just see it with his tears in his eyes while he asked me. I'm like, are you crying because you're like, what am I doing? Are you crying because you're so happy? And you could just tell. He was just so ecstatic. And he planned it so good. He had a photographer. He knew this photographer was going to take these pictures of us, and then just knew, like, this is what I'm going to do it. And for him to, like, think of all of that, he's a very simple guy. And he went above and beyond to get these pictures. We have pictures of him proposing, and I just would never have thought that that's how my proposal would have been. I can't believe we have it in pictures. Like, you could just see our faces. It was the best. That was the best day of my life. Besides meeting him.
What keeps you up at night? Why do you think that is?
I struggle with flashbacks and insomnia. Thoughts of my dad, thoughts of rape, things like that keep me up. Sometimes feeling like, sometimes I stay up because I'm writing. Sometimes I stay up because I'm not happy with how I did my day. So I stay up thinking about it and dwelling on it instead of focusing on what I want to do. And then it takes so long, and eventually by the end of it, I'm usually like, okay, this is how I want my next day to be. And that'll keep me up. And then I stay up too late, and then I end up doing the same thing. It's a battle. It's a constant struggle of, like, your mind.
What keeps you going every day?
Honestly, I I just really want to be successful. I want to also be able to contribute and be just as much a good partner to Tyler as he is to me. And that's what gets me going. Is like I don't want him to be the breadwinner. I don't want me to be the breadwinner. I want us both to, you know what I mean, contribute. And I think that's probably the thing that motivates me the most to like get up. He cannot be the one that's putting on legs and going and doing something and I'm laying here like this, you know, like get up. And that's probably my biggest like motivation to get up and do those things.
Do you feel that you're taking positive steps to get to a better place?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think that I constantly am like researching different. I'm doing yoga a lot more. I stopped doing it when I first moved out here from Chicago. I used to do yoga at least 3 times a week. I'm back to doing it at least once a week. I'm moving up into two. About last week, I've been doing it 2 times a week. So that's really, really helping. And I am. I just want to be a better person. I want to be a better person not only for me but for Tyler and for my family. You know, I don't want my family to see me not be as successful as I can because I am talented and I do have a lot of drive. It's just hidden, you know? Like once I get going, I'm like, once the ball's rolling, I can keep going. But as far as keeping that going, it is hard. But I am like I'm finding the right therapist. I go to therapy. I'm doing these things. I mean, even this is a step in the right direction to just like get my story out there and help anyone that I can. I want to do what I can to be a functioning member of society. I want to be a part of that. I don't want to just be this slug that sits at home. So I'm working on it, and it's might take medication, might take a little bit of weed here and there, but I am doing it, and I want to do it. It's something I want.
Imagine you're in the hospital today with only hours to live. What would be your regrets?
I would regret telling my sisters how much I love them. I love my sisters so much, and we're not really affectionate. We don't hug. My one sister hugs me, but my other sister is not like affectionate at all. Tyler's actually the first person to teach me how to like cuddle because I'm not really affectionate, and I've learned how to be. But like I really wish if that would be my regret, not just opening up to them and telling them how much I really, really love them, and that I wish that they asked me more questions about some of the trauma I went through, maybe asked how they could help me, but they did with the abuse this late, but not my childhood abuse. So I really would regret not going up to my sister Brienne and just saying, you know what, I fucking love you, like so much. And I've never told you that enough. As uncomfortable as it is for you, I wish I would say it more. I think that's probably something I would really, really regret.
So you're gonna make it, you're alive and well. Do you feel that you can change those regrets from this point moving forward?
Yeah, I do.
You tell me what your dreams were as a kid. What are your dreams now?
I want to be behind the chair. I want to win an award on behind the chair. I want to be on that stage winning an award, and then when I'm done doing that, I want to be on that stage teaching people how to do awesome, dope-ass hair, and I want to be giving the awards out. I want my name. I want my whole brand of like behind Brooke's chair, flat irons, products, CBD facial skin, hair oil. Like I want it all. I want to be a huge impact in the hair industry. I want people to know my name when they talk about, you have Sam Vila and you have some of these people that are known hairdressers, famous for famous people even. I want to be that. I want to do runway. I don't want to walk the runway. I'm too short anyways. But I want to do that. I will be on that stage. I will be on that stage giving awards and accepting awards eventually. I know I will.
So, you're the author of your life book. How do you want it to end? And it doesn't have to be the end, and it can be a third to the way. What's your picture perfect ending, and how would it feel when it ends that way?
I want a big family with Tyler. I want kids running around. I want him to feel so comfortable. That's something he says to me, like, how am I going to run around and chase my kids? And it's like, there's so many other ways. I don't remember my dad chasing me. I remember my uncles chasing me, but I remember my dad doing other things. So, like, I picture Tyler being the best father, like the best father. I would think I would be a good mother because I've been through so much that I would be able to have my child open up, and I would do the things that I feel like my mom didn't maybe do, or that my dad maybe didn't do. So, like, I would, you know what I mean? There he is, my man. I want a family with him. I want a big family. Maybe I feel like I want 2 kids or 4 kids because I don't want an odd number like my sisters, because I feel like there's someone left out always. But yeah, and I just picture him running around and just Tyler and I just having a family. And that's how I see it. Just settling down and then raising them, and then they can get the hell out, and him and I can sell our house and downsize and have giant windows and make our dream home that's smaller, but like make it our home. And you guys are on your own now, kids. We raised you well. Go on. That's what I see. A family with him. Yeah.
That's it.